Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So this is Chris from Cypher Signal Screen Time with a Wednesday watch, which is normally my watch list pile, but it is a very small physical media watch list pile. Why is it so small? It's because when this was filmed, I've been away on my holidays, which I'm sure you probably see me mentioning stuff. So I've been away to Spain. So because we went for just over a week, and the way it timed is this is only probably about 4 days worth of watching stuff. I have a massive amount of online stuff, and it's kind of been my goal to watch a lot of online stuff to get rid of it so I can go back to and finish off my physical media. So we'll try and do one and one. So first one up is the movie Widows. So it's taken me ages to watch this, and I did enjoy it for the most part. It's a very interesting story. Obviously, you have these guys, but most of them are more or less killed straight off the bat. And essentially, the women are left to try and find some money because of the debts that are owed. It was interesting. It was an enjoyable watch for the one time. I don't think it is something that I will go back to, in all fairness. So this one will leave the collection. So next one up is Balls Up. So this is on Amazon Prime. So this is a Mark Wahlberg and the guy who plays Stingray from Cobra Kai and stuff like this. I really like this one. So basically it's about two promoters of a condom who interfere with the Brazilian World Cup, and basically and then kind of hunted and hated by the country. It has a Gautier type theme, a Sacha Baron Cohen pipe, which was really good, probably the standout moment. Very silly and very stupid, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Just to turn your brain off and have a bit of an hour and a half of silliness. So Balls Up. So that was really fun. So next up we have is The Astronaut's Wife. So again, this is one of my ones to watch. I've never seen it before. Essentially, not Leonardo DiCaprio, Johnny Depp goes into space with another scientist, and there's like a minute of where they are they disappear or they can't be seen. They come back to Earth and they're having really weird symptoms and stuff like this. Listen to the radio. Essentially, sorry if I'm going to spoil it if you've not seen it, him and the other astronaut are taken over by aliens. One of them dies, and then basically, as they've come back, they're there to impregnate their wives to give them two kids that are kind of like a communicator for the rest of their race. The first wife kills herself, and then Charlize Theron finds out she's pregnant from Johnny Depp's character, and then when she finds out he's an alien, tries to get rid of it, and in the end he transfers his consciousness to her and the kids are born and stuff. Again, it was an alright watch. I didn't mind it. As it says, Rosemary Baby definitely gives off those vibes. It's something I'm never going to go back to, so that will also leave the collection. So I think this is going to be a current trend. So next up we have Ben 10 Omniverse movie. So this is on Now TV. So I didn't realize I'd already seen this. Essentially, this is one of the later incarnations of the Ben 10 series. He is fighting a alien, goes in space, and then gets warped into a different realm. While Vilgax, the bad guy, kind of lands on Earth to destroy it. And in between him being in this dimension, they believe that Ben is actually the bad guy because he has the Omnitrix, which is the device on his arm, which changes him into the aliens. And it's kind of him meeting Azimuth, the creator of it, and coming across. Because I've seen a lot of different Ben 10 stories, sometimes the stories are a little bit twisted. This newer version, the Omniverse version, I think is a little bit different because he's already met Azimuth in the original series that I remember. But I still enjoyed it. I see a good reason to have Now TV. So next up we have Camus, The Lone Ninja. So this is based off a really, I think, 80s anime. It's not the greatest visual-wise anime, in my opinion. And yeah, this is essentially a warrior or a young kid who gets basically left by himself to being this kind of trainer, and he has these skills, and he basically fights against these people who are out to kill him while protecting this woman. And it was all right. I didn't mind it. It is very much a C-list CG. There is a lot of CG parts that are really bad. If you know, it's one of those ones that they've got a camera go like here and they've just kind of superimposed him, a bit like the classic Mortal Kombat one. I say it was all right for a story. Obviously, I say he finds this woman because obviously when he moves, like they kind of have loads of ninja style of him killing stuff, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's all peace and quiet, and it's all ninja stuff, and it was all right, but it's not one I'm ever going to want to revisit. I'm glad I've seen it. That one will leave it. As you see, you have a common trend. The next one we have is Cellar Door. So this is a recent Netflix movie. Stars Dominic Toretto's sister from Fast and Furious and Scott Speedman from obviously the Underworld series. This is a couple who are struggling to have a child. They move in. They are looking for this house because they spent all their money on IVF. They come across Lawrence Fishburne. He's got his house. They stay with him one night. When they wake up, he basically has given them the house as long as they don't open the cellar door. In between this, you have the husband has obviously been has slept with someone else with all the issues that they had, and she then starts to kind of introduce herself into his life, and then basically tries to get him fired for sexual harassment. She then goes disappearing, and in between that's when he's been left at home. He lies to his wife, and then he's kind of curious what's in the cell, and he's trying to get into it because the whole gimmick of that, essentially, and then it leads to a twist. And it is quite an enjoyable story for what it is. I didn't necessarily see the twist coming. You don't spoil it. You don't get to see what's in the cellar. It's kind of the whole temptation of this something being there, and you need it. Something like that. It's kind of that effect on the people and what you do and don't see and what you expect to happen and not expect to happen. So yes, that was Cellar Door. So next up we have, you may remember I bought 2 steelbooks. So this is Mufasa. So this is the second Lion King live action movie, One Little Tiny Dent. I really thoroughly enjoyed this on the rewatch. The music was great, the story was great, far better than the first one. The fact that it is an original story, it was really interesting to know the creation of Scar and why it's called Scar and where that comes from, and Mufasa and everything. And obviously, unfortunately, it did culminate around the time that James Earl Jones, the original voice of Mufasa, passed, which is a shame. But I really enjoyed it. You know, they kept enough of the original one there. They didn't have people like Beyonce and that shoved in there and singing stuff, which I thought was a bit unnecessarily. And it did really well financial wise, but I don't know if it's because of James Earl Jones. That's why they've not continued on this. So this one will stay in the collection. So that's up. So next up, we have a series called Running Point Season 2. So this is the daughter of Goldie Hawn. And I cannot remember her name now. Oh, it's bugging me. From How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. What is her name? Anyway, she is part of this rich family who have inherited this basketball company. Her older brother, who was the basically the one running company, got banged up for or put in rehab because of all his drug overdose and something like that. But secretly behind the scenes of season 1, he's trying to sabotage his sister. At the end of season 1, he returns, and we find out he's bought his way out and kind of screws him over, and he's trying to still screw his sister all the way over and get the family on their side. And it kind of become of them and that, and then it's the story of all the players and wanting to move, and she's getting married. But why can't I think of what her name is? People are probably screaming at the screen now, going, "It's this person." Because I know her mum's name, and like Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's daughter. It'll come to me. So there is that. So it was, I say, it's an enjoyable series. It's good to switch off, and it's like 8 episodes. Next one up is The Awaken. I thought I hadn't seen, but turns out I had. Is essential a lady post World War One. She goes around myth busting people who have claimed to spirits and stuff like this, and it all comes down to this school where this teacher presents these year photos, and there's pictures of like a ghostly boy being there. She goes there, runs all these tests with the help of kind of this bloke who approached her, who's kind of the caretaker-ish, and his issues that he's got there, and then kind of the maid or the headmistress there and stuff. And it all combines to a twist that relates to her own personal life. It's interesting, it's enjoyable, it's good to see the twists. It's not one I'm never going to watch again. as I said, as I'm getting through the big pack of stuff to watch, I reckon there'll be a lot that will go like this, which is fine. It is what it is. I've seen the movie, I remember the movie, and that's the main thing. So next up, we have The Beginning After the End, season 1. So this is a new anime series I've watched. I've only just started season 2. Essentially, you have a modern day version ish of King Arthur. King Arthur rules with an iron claw. He has these machines. He bombs everybody, and he's a basically tyrant. What happens? We don't know why. Somehow he is reincarnated in a young kid, and he's brought up with 2 loving parents in a world where magic exists. And this is basically he retains all his knowledge and everything from his previous life, but he's a young kid and he's now learning these skills, and because of all his past experience, he can learn it a lot quicker, and he's becoming an up and coming star in this world of magic with all these different races and stuff like this. And it's how the impact of this loving family has impacted him as he's grown up and that. And it was quite interesting. It got a little bit boring near the end third of the first series, which is why I decided I'm not going to go back to it. I just like a lot more action paced, and it's a great idea and something, but when it's just around one sort of character and it's very slow pace of him learning all of this world, and once he's not a little kid, kind of the appeal was lost quite a bit there. So the final physical media I had is The Ugly Dachshund. So this is the guy who's from the original Herbie movies. If you're watching them, I remember watching them growing up. Essentially, him and his wife are pregnant. They're on the way to what they believe is a hospital, but it turns out it's their dog. She's pregnant with 3 puppies. She has these 3. While the dad goes to pick the 3 puppies up, he comes across this Great Dane. He's the runt of the litter. He's a little baby, and his mum has had too many puppies, and she can't feed him. So he decides to sneak him into this one's litter to kind of build him up to raise him. And then it's kind of what happens is the 3 puppies run havoc, but then leave him in all the mess, and he gets blamed for it. And that's a recurring theme until he does something really righteous at the end. And it's kind of all forgiven. They're really, really enjoyable. I love Disney movies, and I think it's from the 60s. It's based on a book. Really, really fun, enjoyable movie settings and everything. And classic Disney of what reminds me growing up, and I just love this movie. So 2 will stay and 4 will go, and then we go to the rest of the movies. So next up we have is War Machine. So this is the Alan Richardson movie from Netflix. Really, really enjoyed this. Essentially, you have him as a mechanic. He works in the army with his brother. During a routine stop of where his brother's Humvee is damaged, he goes out and fixes it. They're attacked. He has to carry his brother's body to the military and gets this award from what you believe. But when they're talking at the beginning, they want to join the Rangers, which is like the elite class. You then have him basically joining the group and going through trials, and basically they eliminate all the people until you get to the final 20 or 30, what it is. They believe he should be washed out because of obviously a lot of trauma and stuff he's got from the previous one. He's super good at what he does. He beats everybody, but because he's not being a human person, he's not interacting with everybody. He doesn't want to help people. He's just there for him. They're basically going to toss him, and he kind of says no. So at the final mission, they basically give him command of it over everyone else, send them out into the wilderness, and they have to find a plane, destroy it, and then go find the people. In between this, there's these reports that there is some sort of asteroid heading closely towards Earth. What happens? The exercise starts. They go there. They go to an area where they believe it is, but there's something wrong with the compasses. They find this metal kind of ship. They go to blow it up, and it doesn't work. But this explosion actually caused it to wake up, and what we find out is that it's an alien. The asteroid that was coming to Earth. There's loads of these robots. This one's sent in, destroyed the encampment, lands close to where their plane was conventionally, and then basically is hunting all the humans to kill them. Alan Richardson does what he can to try and get what people we can away from it and back to base, and then ends up destroying one of these, and it's how he will kind of help the human race. But really, really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was well put together, well directed. The CG was good and flawless. It looked how it was shot and something. I thought it was a very well done movie. And to be honest, this is, if streaming movies were more like this, I would thoroughly enjoy it. I have had, the past month, I have watched a fair few things that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and it's a lot of, some of these are movies that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up or watched. So I'm glad that I'm keep doing this, because I don't want to, sorry, this is another video for, I don't want to just stick to the movies I know and love and rewatch them and get bored of them. I want to keep my, my brain flowing into explore as many different films as I can in my lifetime. So that was that. So next one we followed up is with Fresh. So this is the new Netflix movie about sharks. I was very half and half on this one. So this is essentially, you have this town in America, and there's a storm coming, and these people are trying to basically get away. You have it centered around a few people. You have this woman who her mum's died, and she doesn't want to, I think agoraphobia it's called, where you don't want to leave the house. And you have her basically stuck in a house because it's coming. You have this pregnant woman who's been called into work, who's trying to get home, but obviously this storm's kicking off. And then you have this 3 adopted kids who are taken on by this hunter, and he basically doesn't want to leave. He's bulletproofed his house basically and doesn't think it's wrong. What happens is the storm hits, it breaks down this massive brick cement wall that's holding all the water back, and it floods the town. Not only does it flood the town, but there is a meat processing plant, and the big truck in the middle gets destroyed, and it feeds loads of meat, basically lingering from the centre of town all the way out into the sea, and that lures in a great white and a load of bull sharks, and this is where then they start killing people left, right, and centre. The premise started off really good. I really enjoyed it. The setup for it. It was then when the agoraphobe has to help the pregnant woman because she's stuck in a car and she knows the shark's there, and she's like, I've got to get to you. And then this magic building kind of floats just in front of her house, so she can get from her house onto the thing. And it was just, I was like, why would you do that? Why be a bit more creative and stuff like this? And she is a bit more creative later on, where she uses some electronic devices to lure the sharks and stuff. There's a little bit like that. The pregnant woman has to fend off a shark later on. She stabs it with the wood, and then the great white kills another bull shark. And there was a few bits like that. I was just like, oh, really? Like, you could have been a bit more clever with it. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a nice experience. I would probably watch it again. But for me, there was just a few things that were just like, oh, great, okay. A lot of people, there wasn't many deaths as well, which I was quite surprised. I think there's like 5 or 6 people that maybe get killed. And then obviously the agoraphobic's uncle comes from in the end. So that's Fresh. Next up, we have Puppy Love. So this is an Amazon Prime movie. This stars Grant Gustin, The Flash, and somebody, how I can't remember her. And this was a really sweet movie. So essentially, funny enough, like, he's a bit of a kind of agoraphobe, clean germ freak from COVID. Doesn't really want to go anywhere, sees his therapist and can't go into work, and his best mate is his boss and says, like, you need to sort yourself out. The other lady, I think her name is Abby, she is basically a little closed off from people and stuff like this. She gets a dog, calls him Channing Tatum, and he gets a dog called Chloe, and they basically meet for a dating app. Unfortunately, Channing Tatum gets Chloe pregnant, and then the two of them kind of end up in this whirlwind kind of friendship, living together to look after the dogs or something like that. And then it spurs romance. And there was a dog movie I watched a little while ago. It was Marv or something, which was absolutely horrendous. This is what that other movie should have been. The other one had Charlie Cox in it. I can't remember what it was called. And Zooey Deschanel. Really, really bad movie. This one was great. The acting was great. The story was great. It wasn't a big blockbuster, but it was a fun. You connected with them. It had a few like germs and the COVID. That yes, you could get it, but it wasn't done in too overbearing way. He's a little bit of a nerd and stuff, and they're two different very people, but how they connect. And I thought that was really, really well done. So Puppy Love. Shame it's never going to get a physical release, because I probably would easily buy it, because I do love a good chip flick, and obviously when it has dogs in it. So yeah, the next one up is Gridman Universe. So just situated off Cameron areas, this TV series Gridman comes from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad that we remember from the 90s. They did an anime series, and then produced a film. The film never got dubbed, so it's only in subtitles. So I finally got around to watching this. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the continuation. I enjoyed it kind of tied up a few additional bits from the series that we were kind of waiting for. The thing that I had for me is they have these other kind of characters from different Gridman realities and stuff, and I don't know if these are series or these are made up, or I've never seen them, so that was just the confusing bit for me. There's a lot of additional characters thrown in that I have no idea what they're doing. But it was still cool to see. It's probably just a way to sell figures, but I really enjoyed Gridman Universe. As I say, shame it never got a physical release or an English dub, but it is what it is. So two more we have. So another Netflix movie, as you can see, so this is Lost in Starlight. So this is a Korean movie, I think, from last year. Essentially, you have this mum and research team. They go to space on Mars, and they're trying to do these new like plants and everything else to help the planet. Unfortunately, something happens and they die. And then you have the next team that go up. Her daughter is one of those, but because of everything she's gone through, she is again a little bit closed off. She comes across a lot of old equipment and stuff like this that she likes to keep, and unfortunately breaks this record player, and she tries to find someone to fix it. She finds bumps into a guy who manages to fix it for her, and in between this they kind of have this connection and form this relationship, and it's them two dealing with it and navigating the world of all the issues that they've had in themselves. He is a musician and stepped away from the limelight. She wants to be an astronaut, but because of the connection between her mum, she kind of can't go, and it leads to varying forces. Lovely soundtrack, lovely story, lovely well animated. You know, again, I hope this gets a physical release, but who knows, because obviously it's I think a Netflix first Korean movie. But Lost in Starlight, really, really lovely, well done, well animated, and it is a little bit of a different style to a lot of anime I've seen recently. So I really enjoyed that and gravitated towards those. Then the final one we have is Apex. So yes, this is the Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton movie from Netflix again, as you can tell, watching a lot of streaming stuff. And this is where Charlize Theron goes hike up a mountain with not Thomas Jane, it's the guy who was the first, Banner, Eric Banner. He unfortunately in that incident involves and he is killed. She then decides to go several months later on a canoe, one to kind of scatter his ashes. She meets some of the local wild back in Australia that look like they're kind of not your nice type of guys. This young lad, Taron Egerton, kind of says this is the way to take. In between this, kind of things spiral out, and you find that Taron Egerton actually is a weird kind of psychopath who basically gets tourists to go to these special routes so he can basically hunt them, kill them, and recycle their bodies because he's a little bit gone in the head, so to speak. And then we have Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton's kind of battle against each other. It was very, very well shot, very well, nice put together movie, very enjoyable. I like Taron Egerton's character. There was some bits with his teeth which I felt like they could have been used a little bit better. The climbing stuff on that was very clever. It looked like everyone was doing what they were doing, and it was their faces and stuff, which I thought was good. Now, overall, it was just a few little bits of the film for me. It's always the same one of when it starts off with Eric Bana and they're climbing. It's, if you've ever seen Cliffhanger or I think Vertical Limit or any movie like this, you know exactly what's going to happen in it. It's like, please, somebody come up with something a little bit different to start the movie off, but it is what it is. I also felt that they could have used her abilities a little bit more. Like, as I say, rather than this person dying, having that she's trying to pass some test or trying to do some challenge or something and fails it, and this is a way for her to kind of do a personal development, just to have a more valid reason to put her in it. I get it. The ashes was a nice touch. But for me, I was like, the whole death thing at the beginning, I've seen this multiple times. Most movies are like this. We know what's going to happen. Actually leads on to Taron Egerton's character very early on. As soon as you saw him in it, and I forgot that he was even in this, you kind of get an idea. You know he's probably going to be the bad guy. It's the whole, as I explain it, kind of Terminator Salvation, if you've ever seen that movie. You see that movie, it starts off, you have Christian Bale and everything else, and then in the background you see Matt Smith. And as soon as you see a famous person in the background, you're like, they're an important character for some reason. It always happens. This one, Taron Egerton's the same. The way he hunts people and stuff, I felt could have been a little bit more clever, because obviously, like the very beginning scene, she's going through like this kind of ravine, and there's all these kind of belongings strewed up on trees. And I'm like, well, hang on, that seems a bit sus. I wouldn't be going that way. Her pack gets taken and he gets taken when she's hunting him. There's a few bits like, would you trust him? Little bit of a different ending, which I appreciate. The fact that we're in like Australia and they come across one snake, there's no other animals or insects or anything throughout the whole of the movie. Very strange. You know, still could have it in. Not saying that they had to be plot devices, but could have least. Yeah, I say like there's no insects, there's no bugs or anything else they kind of come across. And there was a, you know, with the teeth thing, I kind of felt like it'd be really good if we didn't see Taron Egerton's character, or we saw a human version of him like we saw in the beginning. He's not seen, because even when like she picks him up, there's a few like inconsistencies with where like he's in this hut thing at the beginning, she goes down river, and then he's in that hut thing again, and I'm a bit like, well, has he got multiple huts that look exactly the same? And I think it'd be really good if he was like, helped him out, I'm this person, if you ever need my help, whatever, or just you can get hold of me in this way, going off. And then her to be hunted by someone, but obviously he took his teeth out, maybe had some paint on and some like clothes, and she feels she's being hunted by someone else, and you don't realise it's Taron Egerton. I think that would have been a far better film. But it is what it is. So that is Apex. So that is everything I've been watching. A lot of streaming, obviously. 2 for the collection, 4 leaving the collection. It is what it is. I've been Chris from Sci Sigma Screen Time. Thank you for watching this video and seeing what I've been watching. If you have any thoughts or feelings, put them down in the comment below. If you haven't hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.